Intro music. Okay, How to Avoid Writer's Block and Finish Your Friggin' Novel by Michael John Weber. That's me. Hi. It's a rainy day, and that was part 1, and that was part 2, and that was part 3. I don't remember what part I'm on now, because I didn't really write it properly. There's just one thing somebody asked me to clear something up. So, the idea of the controlled accident, I suggest you just Google it, because that'll do a better job at teaching you. It's related to the work of calligraphy in Japan, and that whole Zen Buddhism, just going with it sort of thing. Anyway, and somebody I gave, when I spoke of the controlled accident last time, I think I mentioned a particular example that I saw that in my own writing, relative to not planning everything. In my opinion, if you plan too much, you're boxing in your story, your characters, everything, and also you're wasting your time, because you can't plan everything. That's ridiculous. So I only plan about 25%, as it says here, and I don't know how accurate that is, and the example I gave was a specific character. And so I'm just going to ramble about that. In a way, it's kind of me bragging, but hey, that's basically all these videos are doing anyway. Because I'm really proud that this happened. It was so startling to me. So the series that I write, in the very first book, there was a scene where I introduced a character, and she's in her bedroom by herself. And then a group of other girls shows up. All these characters are in their late teens, early 20s, but because I'm old, I'm going to say girls. A group of girls shows up at her room to have a impromptu welcome party, slumber party, if you will. I know that sounds ridiculous, but there was no make-out sessions and tickle fights in lingerie, because it's not that kind of slumber party. Girls don't do that, guys, just so you know. Anyway, so girl A in her room, and I wrote the sentence, numbering 5 in total, when these girls show up to throw this impromptu party for her. Okay? That's the sentence I wrote. I don't know why I wrote it. That's just what come out my fingers. I don't know why I picked the number 5. I swear to you. It's 0. I just typed the word 5. It sounds good. Numbering 5 in total. You know, numbering 7 in total, that extra syllable for some reason just throws the sentence off to my ear. That's my only logic. I could have picked any fucking number. So then I start writing and writing. Because of my, oh, there's a car coming. Sorry for the noise. In my theory, I only write dialogue, so I'm cranking out dialogue. And this is my first novel that I really, oh my goodness, that's a loud car. Okay. I'll just cut to the chase. So I find myself, when I'm writing this chapter, that I'm in a room, and it's like a bottle episode, if you know what that means, and there's 6 people talking, and 5 new characters. So I'm introducing to the reader 5 new people. Now, it occurred to me, like, wow, I have to make each of these characters distinct enough so that the reader can at least separate and tell who is who when they're talking. Like, it just overwhelmed even me that there were 6 people in one room all having a conversation, and 5 of them were brand new. You know, you kind of want to intro characters a little slower than that, I would think, right? I'm sorry for rambling. So I actually went back to this sentence that says numbering 5 in total. And I was like, I could just change it to 3 or 4. You know, make there be less people in the room so the conversation would be less cluttered and easier for me to write and the reader to read. And then and I didn't. I was like, nah, fuck it. You know what? For whatever reason, and this is the key, for whatever reason, oops, I can't spell either. The 5th girl is mute. I didn't know if it was a real mutism, if it was like she was just doing it, like she just didn't want to speak on her own, if she couldn't physically speak, I had 0 idea why. All I wanted was just to take her out of the conversation. This is literally all I wanted. So, that became part of the conversation when we introduced this girl. oh, but she doesn't speak to anyone, so don't mind her, is essentially the line of dialogue when she's introduced. And then I actually looked up the Japanese word for silent or mute and come up with the name for the character, Damaru. Okay, so there's your accidents already starting. If you see what I'm getting at, I didn't mean to write the number 5, never, and I should have changed it to be honest, but I didn't. I just made an off-the-cuff decision. Fuck it, she's mute. I don't even know why. We'll figure that out later. It's literally the feeling of it. And then just for shits and gigs, I needed a name. I could have picked anything. Sally, you know, it doesn't matter. But for some reason, I was like, hey, I wonder what the Japanese word for mute or silent is. And then I come up with this word, Damaru, which ends up being the character's name. Okay, so there's a bit of your control accident. And now, that character later on, uh, um, I needed a mentor for a protege. And somebody else is supposed to be the mentor. Me as the writer, I'm like, but wouldn't it be cool if we put this girl that doesn't talk as the mentor? Because you would think a mentor needs the power of speech to be able to explain things to her protege. Communication is key. So how fun would that be to watch a freshman in a school? This is sort of the plot line of my book. I'm not focusing on that, but if a freshman in a school on her first day of classes had a mentor to show her around, but that mentor was mute or would not speak for some reason, how would that go? And so these two characters meet. Sarah 9 and Damaru, they meet. And somehow I've I start writing the dialogue between them, and keep in mind, Damaru doesn't speak, so Sarah9's asking her questions and saying, hey, this and that and the other, and Damaru only uses body language. But it occurred, all of us know that, what's that stupid stat? 90% of all language is just body language anyway, so I was like, well, fuck it, let's just make an extreme version of that. So for whatever reason, and I still don't know after 6 books, Sarah9 can understand Damaru silence. And that, so now, Sarah and Damaru just talk. Dee only ever uses body language, but Sarah replies to her like as if she heard a complicated sentence. It's actually kind of fun sometimes to do. Their conversations are hilarious to write, so much fun to write, because again, one of them doesn't speak. But then this accident of her being there, her not speaking, and then me being clever saying Sarah and Damaru should meet together because I'm just being a jerk is essentially what it is. Now, these two start forming a friendship. And it begs the question, why is Damaru silent? Which gets addressed in a later book. And then it also, how can Sarah understand her? Which I have yet to address. So now I got something to write later. There's your idea, Michael, if ever you don't know what to write, right? Okay. But then also, here's another controlled accident. And I'm so sorry for babbling about my own project like this, but here's another example of controlled accident. These two characters spend days out in a wet, cold, rainy forest, camping out under the stars, being miserable. And then finally, when they're done doing whatever it is they're doing, the silent girl takes her friend to basically a roadside inn where they can get a warm bed, a nice meal, a warm fireplace, and just spend the night not under the stars in the miserable cold and rain. Okay? While they're laying, they only have one bed to share. And I don't write erotica, so please don't go that way. But they're laying there in bed, and Sarah says to the silent girl, Damaru, thank you for all your help the past couple days. Damaru nods, as is her way, and Sarah replies something like, no, really, I mean it, thank you. And then I wrote this line. Damaru reaches over and grabs Sarah hand and laces their fingers together, or something like that. I don't know why I wrote that. I planned 0 of that. Don't ask me why. I wrote and laces their fingers together. And I literally leaned back from my keyboard and frowned, and I said, huh, why that? Why not just hold hands? Why lace fingers together? And then I finished that novel, and when I was thinking about these two characters after I had finished the novel entirely, I was like, these are just two minor characters, but I almost want to write a second novel that brings these two characters to the fore more. And I want to see what's going on there. Why can the one understand the other? Why the lacing the fingers? Is there? I couldn't figure it out. So I started writing the second novel, and it turns out they like each other. Like, as a girl and a girl like each other, and well, the girl that can talk doesn't know how to deal with it, etc., etc. All those weird things that come up when you like someone and don't know if they like you back, that sort of thing. I had never planned that, never planned it, ever, that there would be a relationship between any of the characters, let alone these two. Basically, one of these characters was never even meant to exist. How could I have planned it out? So, oops, Michael. So I was like, wow, okay, well, it's kind of like looking through a keyhole in a door and seeing these two people lace their fingers together, and that's it. And I go, well, maybe I should open this door to see what's going on. And so I wrote that second book. Sure enough, they like each other, and sure enough, they get together. Now, spoiler alert, maybe, and my apologies. It's not that unobvious, but at the same time, I never planned that. And now having them together, quote unquote, as a couple, that opens up so many more storylines. Not just the bullshit he said, she said drama of, shows like Friends and Big Bang Theory and that crap. But, how do they work together? How do they live together? Blah, blah, blah. Relative to the plot line, the world I've created, etc., etc. And there was zero planning in that. So, I guess this is a long video as it is, but so I'll finish it saying this. I could have never planned Damaru's existence, Saranine's existence, relating, them becoming friends, them becoming girlfriend and girlfriend. I could have never ever planned that before I wrote the story. You know what I mean? Like, so if you're going to spend all your time planning and planning and planning, making sure everything's perfect and every detail is known, if I did that, none of this would have happened. Seriously, and these two have become main characters from extras. Saranine was supposed to die in the first novel. Damaru wasn't even supposed to exist. And now they're main characters. Just because I didn't change the word 5 to something smaller. I just let the controlled accident flow. And all of this crap came afterwards. And 6 books of it, let me tell you. And more still. I got too much more to write. I can't write it all. So there. That is... I'm proud of these characters. Maybe they're not the best characters ever, blah blah blah, but I'm proud that they exist in this way. That I never even planned them to do it. They forced themselves on the page somehow, and there you go. And they're most unforgettable characters to me entirely, and so much joy. I'm sorry, it's a lot of joy to do this. So I hope you can do it too. Like, you deserve that same joy. I don't care about if you want to be rich and famous or not, but when this happens to you, that's the excitement of sitting at your keyboard writing. That's the roller coaster feeling, is when this happens. Again, my example may not be to your liking, but imagine if your characters just blossomed like this on their own. They grew on their own. I had nothing to do with it. Just my own stupidity. And then one step led to the other, one question led to the answer to the next. It was easy. Maybe listening to me ramble on about this isn't easy, so perhaps I should stop. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.